pray every single time they leave the house because of all of these liberal, femme-minded,
and why do you think
girl feels,
okay,
girl boss,
and why
Netflix,
do you think
Piers Morgan,
and what okay, and why do you think, and Andrew Tate, why do you think it is that people think you're a misogynist?
Nobody thinks that.
A couple of nights ago, I interviewed Andrew Tate in what may have been our most explosive interview yet. Just a few minutes after I left the Uncensored studio, news broke that Charlie Kirk had been shot and, as we now know, assassinated. We're going to bring you the Andrew Tate interview in full, unedited and uncensored. But first, Andrew Tate returns to give his reaction to his horrific story. Andrew Tate, welcome back to Uncensored. This all happened just after we finished our interview 2 days ago. Just first of all, your immediate reaction when you heard what had happened to Charlie Kirk.
I was devastated. I was very, very sad about it because he's one of the good guys and he's one of the people who believed in discourse and he believed in speaking and trying to explain with logic why your worldview is better than the opposing. And if we don't have discourse, then all we have left is violence and war. The point of conversation is to avoid the war. The point of conversation is to be able to sit down and be logical enough to come to a conclusion without the need for violence. And it turns out that that's becoming less and less likely in America today.
I mean, it was, as we get more and more information about the shooter, he's 22 years old. He had bullet casings with "Hey Fascist," "Catch," "O Bella Ciao," which is a reference to an Italian song adopted by the anti-fascist resistance during World War II. And then several sort of slightly ambiguous ones. "If you read this, you're gay." LMAO, "Notices bulges," OWO, "What's this?" which is a meme from internet culture associated with the furry craze. When you look at all that in totality, what do you think we're dealing with here in terms of who this person is?
I think America has a lot of problems. I think that it's an extremely politically charged environment, perhaps the most politically charged environment on the planet. Politics is all anyone talks about all day, every day. The judicial system is politicized. The educational system is politicized. You couple in with the fact it's the most medicated country in the world. It's very unusual for someone who grew up in Europe to know a large percentage of his fellow students to be on some kind of anti-anxiety medication, some kind of depression medication. These SSRIs remove the humanity from the mind and just wipe their brain. You couple that with a hateful media, which is constantly spitting out hateful rhetoric, and you're going to have a whole bunch of drones walking around without humanity waiting to receive their slave instructions. And they're going to believe that they're doing the right thing by murdering people as opposed to just talking to them. So America is a very, very interesting place with a lot of problems. It's easy to just blame guns. I think that's pretty shallow to do because you can kill with a car, you can kill with a knife. We need to find out why there's such a spiritual sickness across all of the Western world, especially America.
The governor in Utah gave a pretty powerful address today in which he appealed to people to tone down rhetoric. To get off social media, actually, as much as you can, get back to the real world where 80% of the population exists in America. You're very active on social media. You can be very inflammatory on social media. I mean, some of the tweets you've done since Charlie Kirk's death, the left are evil, murdering scum who kill people or let others kill people. They must be held accountable. They're not the good guys. The compassionate, nice guys want you dead, and they'll do it or encourage us to do it. I get 1,000 death threats a day from these people. We are at war. Civil war was another one. Some people will say, all right, Andrew Tate, you are part of the problem. You are yourself spewing pretty toxic stuff out to millions of people, whipping up rather than calming down the problem. What do you say to that?
Well, if you have a point of view, somebody can be radicalized by it, right? If you have any point of view on the planet, somebody can be radicalized by it. And social media, like all things, is a fantastic tool that can do amazing things. But if it's used the wrong way, it can also do very destructive things. I don't think the answer is to start telling people to not talk. I think the answer is more discussion, more debate. Because if you remove debate, the only answer is violence. So I think that it's also my tweets, which you just highlighted, the fact that I do receive death threats. Somebody did try to kill me only a few weeks ago. And then a friend of mine, a guy who I respected, was blasted and I had to watch him bleed out. I think it's pretty fair to say that, of course, my tweets are going to be emotionally charged. We can't get into an area where we say that we can't talk anymore because that's only going to lead to more violence. We have to be able to speak to each other. And I think that you would agree, perhaps I'm wrong, that it's the left which seem to be the ones who are so obsessed with assassination. It seems to be the left which are more violent. Antifa and their riots trying to assassinate President Trump. An attempt was made on my life. An attempt was made on Nick Fuentes' life. They just killed Charlie Kirk. For us to sit here and pretend that this violence isn't going one way is disingenuous.
I certainly don't think it only goes one way. I certainly think it can go the way of any extremist, that the far right has its own problem with extremists. There have been lots of left-wing politicians and public figures who've been targeted. So I think it's a problem that goes both ways. But I have said for quite a while that the woke mind virus, as Elon Musk calls it, that ideology is extremely dangerous, because the irony of it is you've got this kid who is, purporting to be anti-fascist, but actually using violence and a gun to silence permanently someone whose views he doesn't agree with. The point being, that is the epitome of fascism.
Well, that's exactly it. So the reason this is so dangerous from the left, and it's not as dangerous from the right, is because the people who are on the right live in a version of objective reality. We live in the real world. These people do not live in the real world. If you're going to believe that a man is a woman, and you're going to believe that we should have no borders for our country and unlimited numbers of people can turn up and just steal from us, if you're going to believe that criminals shouldn't go to jail, you're not a person who's sensible. You now have no parameters from which to operate your logic. So if you're going to live in a complete fantasy land, it becomes a lot easier to justify murdering a political opponent than it does if you operate from a frame of rationality. So for that reason, the left are far more dangerous, because all of their ideas are dangerous, because none of them are true. None of them are real. For the same reason it's dangerous for me to say to you, gravity isn't real, you can jump off a building. If you start believing in things that are completely falsified, completely fantasy, then murder is the end result of all of it. So the left is a serious problem across the world. It's a serious problem across America, especially. You add in a spiritual sickness where we have nothing unifying us in the West anymore. We don't share respect for a flag. We don't share respect for the country we're in. We don't share language. We don't share religion. We don't even share economic prosperity anymore. There's literally nothing unifying us. And if you're going to remove the capability to debate and discuss ideas, then you're going to have an absolute civil war. And that's what's so sad, that Charlie Kirk literally was the number one guy trying to speak. He wasn't trying to inflame tensions. He wasn't trying to push violence. He was the guy saying, look, let's talk this through and let me show you why you're wrong. He was the good guy who did the right thing, and he caught a bullet for it. And that is truly devastating.
This is what the world's most advanced PC looks like. And this is what the world's most advanced PC feels like.
But when you post civil war, literally one post just said civil war, what do you mean by that? What do you expect?
I mean that civil war is coming if we can't talk to each other.
Well, that's a different sentiment. Had you said that, then fair enough. But just to say civil war is...
Well, did I give a verb?
Well, what you're saying by civil war, you're saying to your followers that you believe there is a state of civil war here. Now, as you know, the Civil War in America was one of the most consequential periods in its history and was waged with gun violence.
Well, I can answer that in two ways. Firstly, if conservatives can't give their opinion and they can't talk openly and freely without catching a bullet, then I guess it is a war. But that wasn't what I was inferring. I was inferring that a civil war is coming if we can't speak to each other and unify behind an idea, especially the idea of being an American. You've now added a verb saying that I was trying to incite civil war, because very much like all other media figures, it's your primary intention.
I didn't add anything.
It's your primary intention to just spin up negative clips and find things that get you
what do you mean
views.
I added?
And that's exactly what the liberal media has always done, which is why
sorry.
conservatives are under permanent attack.
Hang on.
We're going to now sit here and say I'm a violent person.
No, I
and
didn't
then
say
when
that.
someone else turns up at
Why
my
are you
house
putting
attempting
words-
to kill me like they did 3 weeks ago,
Why are you putting
pretend
words-
that has nothing to do with you, Pierce.
Why are you
the liberal
putting-
media in and of
You
itself
can
is
keep
truly
talking.
disgusting. It's the reason why Charlie Kirk had to eat a
if you let
bullet.
me respond
because the
to
liberal
you-
media convinced this guy,
Yeah.
this guy who's been probably looks like he's on SSRIs to me, that Charlie Kirk was the heart of evil when he truly wasn't. So please do not, in this conversation about a fallen comrade, do not do the exact thing the media always do and the exact thing that ended up getting him killed. Do
Okay.
not say I said something I didn't say,
Okay.
and do not give some
Can I
garbage
get a word in?
inference trying to get a bunch of clicks
I say
on your
something?
channel. You may
Okay.
need money, but I don't, sir.
Let-
so I don't
let-
care
let me
about
just
clicks. You may be
respond.
broke. I'm not. I didn't
As-
say let's go to civil war.
If I may
didn't say let's
respond-
start a civil war.
If I may
said this will
respond,
end it. I
you
said
can keep
civil war
talking,
because
Andrew,
that's
or
where
you
it's
can
gonna
shut
end.
up. I never added any verb. I literally read your post was 2 words.
And neither did I.
Civil war. I never
Neither did
added
I.
a verb.
You inferred,
So the whole
sir.
pretext
You
for
inferred.
your whole pretext for your little rant about me is based on a lie, which the viewers will know was a lie because they heard what I said. I never added any words to your post. I read out the words civil war and asked you what you meant
know what
by
the word
it.
infer
You then
means?
clarified it. You then clarified it, and I would say to you in return that if you don't want people to misinterpret your post, then maybe post what you actually mean rather than posting the words civil war, which I think are
posted what I meant.
incendiary.
Thank you very much. It's clear that conservatives are under attack by a rabid left-wing sect of the population, which is being radicalized by media figures, very much like yourself. That is clear. We just saw a man bleed to death in front of his wife and children, purely because the media convinces everybody at home that he is evil somehow for having an opinion.
There is
An
an
opinion
irony.
which isn't
There is an
controversial.
irony. Okay.
And MSNBC
Yeah.
and all of these people
Yeah.
who do this, even after his death, were constantly trying to make excuses for the shooter.
Yeah.
It is disgusting.
Okay.
The lie, and I know you don't care, Pierce, but a man tried to come into my house and stab me 3 weeks ago. So for you to infer I'm saying that we need to have a civil war, it's actually quite heinous. So please be careful, sir.
I'm not the one who said civil war. You are.
I said civil war, and then you tried to infer, you tried to sit and ask and infer that I'm trying to promote violence.
I asked you what
First,
you meant
talked
by
about
it.
how my tweets are inflammatory, and you're trying to say that I promote violence. Then you read those tweets out because you're inferring I'm a violent person, so that some idiot at home is going to watch this and believe that I deserve to die. And I'm telling you that I'm here. I understand you need views. I understand you need clicks. I understand you're poor. I'm not. I'm here. I don't give a shit about the views. Do not infer I said something I did not say. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I didn't, as everybody who watches this knows, so you just lied. Andrew Tate, thank you very much. Well, now, here is that extraordinary interview from early this week, as it was recorded in real time. Today's show is brought to you by Oxford Natural, makers of the Optimum Day and Optimum Night all-natural supplements. Thousands of Brits and Americans are already taking them with incredible results. Optimum Day is designed to boost your energy and support weight loss throughout the day. Optimum Night helps you relax and get deep, refreshing sleep. And don't just take their word for it. Here are just a few of their success stories. England football legend Michael Owen lost 40 pounds. Robbie, the face of AFTV, dropped over 100 pounds. Linda, a top Laurel firm executive, lost 50 pounds. And Anita, an immigration lawyer, shed 60 pounds. To watch their full stories and find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit oxfordnatural.com/peers. And here's the best part. Use the code PEERS, P-I-E-R-S, and get 70% off your first. Prompting even the US president to intervene, but some people believe it's only become a racial scandal because of bad faith actors on social media. Andrew Tate understands these issues well, and he joins me now. Andrew Tate, welcome back to Uncensored.
Pierce.
I've not spoken to you since obviously a massive development in your life. I need to talk about the elephant in the room off the top. You're facing 10 charges, including rape, actual bodily harm, human trafficking, and controlling prostitution for gain, relating to 3 women in the UK. And your brother Tristan faces 11 charges, including rape, actual bodily harm, and human trafficking. What is your response to that development in your life?
My response is very simple, Piers. It was the UK Foreign Office that wrote to the Romanians in 2023 and said I was a national security threat because I had too much influence over the young men of the country. They told the Romanians to get me off the internet. The Romanians arrested me and, as you know, spent 3 years accusing me of things that were not true. The Romanians threw the entire case out because it's garbage and there never was a case. Once the Romanians throw their case out, then the British state brings up some garbage. I'm considered a national security threat to the Matrix and all they do is lie. You have seen, and we have spoken multiple times throughout this fiasco of what's happened to me in Romania, and I've yet to have a court case or ever be convicted of anything ever. This is a deep state operation by the UK Foreign Office trying to stop me from doing the one thing I'm intent on doing, which is saving the British state from themselves.
Will you come back to the United Kingdom to stand trial?
Absolutely. I'm not scared of these people. They're lying and they know they're lying. I beat the Romanian system, sir. You do understand this is the most corrupt country in Europe. You do understand that if there was even 1% truth to any of their accusations, I'd be under the jail. I'm sure you know that very well. They couldn't even find a victim. It is all invented. The UK Foreign Office specifically wrote to the Romanians and said, get him off the internet. I have the paperwork. The second I'm there in the UK, the accusation's a lie. All of the media is a lie. It's a scam. And Piers, you know it is. You know I've done nothing wrong.
I don't know that.
Yes, of course you do. Even you.
I don't know.
Even
I don't
you,
know. I don't know.
Even you.
I don't know. Just to be
with
clear.
your limited faculty,
Listen, Andrew.
understand very well that I am clearly a target of the system.
Andrew, I know what you say about this. I also believe that everyone's entitled to a fair trial. I believe everyone's innocent till proven guilty. And I believe in the British justice system. If you say you're going to come back and face trial, that seems to me to be the best way for the evidence to be properly examined in a British court of law, and your fate will be determined in that way, as it is for many other people. I don't.
Well,
I don't
if you
know.
still believe in the British
I've not been
justice
around
system,
you
there's
in
something
your
wrong with you.
in your
Of course,
environment. I don't
that day
know. I
will
don't know
come.
whether you're innocent or guilty. How would I know?
Well, you do know I'm innocent. I can see it all over your face, Piers.
No, you can't.
Of course I can.
I don't know what you're guilty of or innocent of. But
Well,
I do
you
think
sat there and told me that Israel wasn't committing a genocide and you were wrong. And you told me that the vaccine was important and you were wrong. And you told me that I was going to go to jail in Romania and you were wrong. So your whole life you've been wrong.
I didn't-
So you're
I
wrong
did- well,
again if you believe in the
okay,
British
just to be
justice system,
clear-
because that's a setup and a scam.
just to be clear-
I'm innocent completely.
just to be
And if
clear,
you should have
I did
learned
not-
by now,
just to
every
be
time you speak,
clear-
you get educated.
just
And
to-
I am telling you,
all right,
that
you
I am
can keep
innocent. So
shouting.
you should listen to me.
Okay, just to be clear, I never told you anything about what would happen in the Romanian system other than I would await the justice system to play out there. On genocide with Israel, I still don't think it is at the bar of genocide because no other official body has said that it is genocide yet. I will wait and see how that plays out. So you make a lot of claims about what I've said, but none of it bears relation to reality. You said about vaccines. What did you say about vaccines?
Firstly, I think we should actually, I'm going to do you a favor here, sir. I think we should move on. Because for me to destroy you over vaccines in Israel again, I mean, this will be the fourth iteration of these conversations. If you're waiting for the official body of Israel to admit they're doing a genocide, we're going to be waiting for a long time. And if you believe in the British justice system after everything they've just done and the bullshit they've locked people up for, you're an idiot. So let's just move on from this into something that's actually interesting to discuss because everybody at home knows you're wrong.
Okay, that's actually demonstrably not true, but I'm happy to move on. And for what it's worth, as I think I said to you last time, I believe the COVID vaccines saved a lot of lives. They weren't perfect. Like all vaccines, there were problems associated with it, but I believe they saved a lot of lives. You don't agree? I believe that. So we can, I hope, respect each other's opinions. Let's go on to why I think you wanted to come on Uncensored today. Well, why don't you tell me why you wanted to come on today?
Because what happened to that poor Ukrainian girl on the bus is absolutely disgusting. And I'm here because I think it ties into the Raise to Colors campaign. And I'll be actually perfectly honest with you. The reason I am here is to hopefully, as a half black, half white man, inspire white people to once again defend themselves and defend their nations because they are clearly being genocided. They are the most subjugated, the most prejudiced, the number one race which has to suffer from the most prejudice on the planet in the world today. And I'm waiting for them to stand up for themselves and stick up for themselves. And I'll tell you why. I have children from multiple women, and I am racially ambiguous in many ways. When I go to Egypt, people talk to me in Egyptian, and some people say I look white, some people say I look mixed race. I get called all of these things. But when I have children with a black lady, the children are black, and I have Chinese children, and I have Turkish children, and I have many white children. And I know that my Turkish children have a place they can go where they will not be subject to violence because of their skin color. As the same with my Chinese and black children. There's many places on the earth they're going to be free to grow up when I'm gone. I'm very worried for my white daughters because I don't think they're going to have a country anywhere left on this planet in less than a decade where they're not going to be a victim or a target for potential rape or violent crime purely because of the color of their skin. And it is down to white people to finally grow a backbone and stick up for yourselves because you're being genocided. This is from a mixed race man. You are being genocided and you know you are. That's why I'm here.
So you don't think that black people suffer from similar crime?
Isn't it nice when things are as good as gold? You know, when your fave spot is always nice. And your usual? Perfect.
There's nothing more important than good sleep, and it's probably time you upgraded yours, as I have, with our sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. Brooklyn mattresses deliver top-tier quality, honest pricing, and true American craftsmanship. They've won bedding.com and use my promo code PIERS, that's P-I-E-R-S, for up to 30% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. Go to brooklynbedding.com and use promo code PEERS for 30% off. And make sure you mention Piers Morgan Uncensored at brooklynbedding.com. Promo code PEERS.
In what way? Do I think black people kill black people?
No, do you think black people suffer from crime? Do you
I think
they are
everybody
also
suffers from crime, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I would argue, and perhaps I'm wrong, but that's never happened before, that a black person isn't killed because of the color of their skin. They're going to be killed because there's some other drug dealing debt for them to deal with in inner city Chicago. That young girl was killed because she was white. It was a hate crime, and she was
We
targeted.
don't actually know that.
Of course we know that.
No. What we do-
I'll show you how we know that.
No,
Piers,
I
because
know what
wrong
you're
with
going to
everything. Let
say
me show
because
you
I've
how we know
already
that.
debated it. The reality of the situation, you had a severely mentally ill, probably schizophrenic.
I don't give.
I'm about
I
to
don't
tell
care
you.
if people are mentally ill.
Let's deal with some
This is a
facts.
cop
Then you
out.
can. Let's deal with some facts. Then you can give me your opinion. That's how this works, right? He is heard on tape saying, "I got the white girl." Okay, that suggests a potential racial motivation.
Potentially.
Yeah, okay, but we don't actually know. And I do think, as I've said publicly, I do think the mainstream media has behaved in a very hypocritical manner if that had been the other way round and you'd had a white man killing a beautiful young black girl and saying, "I got the black girl," it would have instantly been a huge story covered by mainstream media in a very aggressive manner. The fact that this was ignored for several days was an indication to me that there was
That
a
white
decision
people are
a decision
a victim of
taken.
prejudice.
Yeah, so I think there was a clear bias exposed in the way it was ignored. So I would agree with you about that. But I do think it's important to point out this guy had been in and out of prison 14 times, should never have been let out, but is clearly mentally ill, probably schizophrenic. We don't actually know what motivated him to kill this poor Ukrainian
Yes, we do.
woman. And the reason it's important is that once we do establish more information and more facts, we can make a more considered opinion. One of the issues I have with you, Andrew, and a lot of other people, is that there's always a rush to judgment. And the problem with rushes to judgment is later information may contradict what you're feeling in the moment. I remember in the riots that erupted after we had a young black boy killing those poor white girls, right? There was a rush to judgment that he'd come in illegally on a boat on the south coast of the UK. It turned out that wasn't the case. So I believe in waiting for facts and information and then casting a judgment. And I think my criticism of you in these situations is you have immediately decided that was the motivation, therefore it's a racist hate crime, and that's it. And I would argue to you, why don't you give it a bit of time? Why don't you wait for more information and make a more considered opinion?
Okay, first things first, if we're going to talk about waiting for information, you shouldn't have told me that Israel was not committing a genocide on October 8th. You've been proven wrong. That's the first thing. The second thing, he said, "I got that white girl." You're going to pretend that doesn't matter as if it's not proven.
I didn't
enough.
say it didn't matter.
Third thing,
I said it
don't
suggests
care
a
if he's
racial
mentally ill.
motivation.
Everybody who stabs somebody is mentally ill. This mentally ill bullshit, I don't know where this has come from, where someone's a criminal, but they're mentally ill. Every single person who commits murder is mentally ill. Every single person who commits necrophilia is mentally ill. Every single person who believes they can get in and out of a bank with money without getting caught has some kind of mental disorder. They're all mentally ill. I don't care about mentally ill. And here's the final nail in the coffin to your asinine argument, sir. Why did he not stab anyone else on the bus? Because he was already on a bus with 4 people and he didn't touch them. If he's so mental, if he can't control his mind, why didn't he stab any of those? Is it because everyone else on the bus was black? The first white person he sees, he kills and says, "I got that white girl." And you don't believe that's enough proof for a court of law to determine that was a racially motivated attack?
It wouldn't be enough proof at the moment for a court of law, no. Absolutely, I believe that. But that's because I've covered many court cases and you haven't. No, as a journalist, I just prefer. I prefer in waiting for more information.
Black people on the bus.
I
this
think
person,
fine.
This person, who I will agree was probably deranged, although I give no merit to that, although it does not garner any sympathy from me, he clearly had something wrong with him. This person was radicalized by a leftist media machine, which blames every single thing on white people, which says that white people are the devils, that everything white people have done is wrong, that their entire history is wrong, and that they deserve the bad things that happen to them.
You have no
If
idea.
sit
You have
and
no idea that he
demonize an entire race endlessly. You're going to
Andrew-
end up having a few idiots who act on that.
But
and
Andrew-
that's what this man did
but
because
Andrew-
of the media. The
Andrew-
leftist media are complicit
Okay.
in what happened to this poor young girl.
Actually, you have absolutely no idea if anything you've just said is remotely true.
I
None
have
of it.
absolute certainty
None
that
of
it
it.
is a fact.
None
sir.
of it. It's not a fact. If it was a fact, we'd all be.
It is a fact.
No, it's not a fact yet. That's the point. This is my point. Again,
The
off you
leftist
go.
media has done
Off you
nothing
go,
but
making a
demonize
series of
white
assumptions.
people for as long. Okay, all right. If you want to be smart, let me prove you
I'm
wrong.
not being
once
smart.
again.
I'm just saying
Yeah, sure.
it's not
Let me
a
prove you wrong
fact.
once again, this is Piers. I'm well versed in you by now. This is easy. Let me ask you a question. If there's an Islamic terror attack, like the London bombings, and then Abu Hamza, Mr. Hook, Captain Hook, he ends up going to jail for a very long time. He didn't blow anything up, but no, he was talking about how Islamic terror attacks should happen because he believes that people deserve them because of his personal worldview. He was instigating so that some idiot would listen to him with less brains than him and then go and murder. What is the difference between that and what the leftist mainstream media is doing by constantly demonizing white people constantly and endlessly?
Well,
There's
that-
always going to be
no,
some
you're
idiot
raising- okay.
who's mentally impaired
Allow
on
me to
some
respond.
level who's going to act upon
Allow
it.
me to
So
respond.
we're locking up Islamic extremists
All right.
for discussing violence against
Allow
people
me
who
to
are not
respond.
Muslim. We should also be locking up anybody who's demonizing an entire race,
Yeah.
demonizing all of their history, and demonizing them to the point where they cannot get on a bus. They can't get on public transport without worrying about being murdered. And I have a future on this planet where I'm not here. There's a future on this planet where my white daughters exist and I am gone. And they will be victims and targets unless white people start standing up for themselves, standing up for their beliefs, and standing up for their nations. Because you're the only race which is being erased. You're the only one. Nobody is invading and erasing any other race. Only you white people. And you seem to sit there and wonder, oh, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of that. It doesn't matter. The world is tribal. You're not going to exist much longer if you don't stick up for yourselves. And you are clearly targets of an orchestrated campaign. There is a campaign which is designed to demoralize and eradicate you. And there are a few idiots who listen to this campaign and act on it savagely in real time on your public transport systems that you pay for
Yeah, okay.
with your taxes.
When you stop shouting-
Let me ask you a question, Pierce.
Well, why
Would
don't you just
black
stop shouting for a
people
moment
ever
and
pay
let me
the majority
respond?
of taxes
Yeah.
to import white people who don't work to replace them?
So
Or
you
because
raise
I
the
highlight
issue
all
of
of
being
the
a
wrong things
taxpayer.
They do.
Well, you
They don't
raise the
wanna
issue
fix
of
the
being a
problem.
taxpayer.
They want to get rid of the
You-
man who
you-
talks about the problem.
All right, you
and
need
then
to-
the UK doesn't have
at some
enough
point you
issues.
need to
And let me
stop
ask you
talking.
a question, sir. All of the knife crime that's happening in London, all of the blood that's running on the streets, considering you can't even wear a nice watch in that city anymore, is it white people or black people who are doing the stabbing? I'm
that's-
half white, half black. You can't offend me. Just tell me the
And
truth.
who are
Which
most
one
of
do
the
you think it is?
victims?
Who's doing all the
And
killing?
who are most of the victims?
Well, some of them are black.
Actually,
some of them are white. It
actually,
doesn't matter.
actually, the vast majority are black. So
I
your
don't
whole
care if
argument,
blacks kill
the whole
only
argument
blacks.
you've been
Blacks
shouting
shouldn't be
about,
killing people.
the whole argument you've been shouting about for the last 10 minutes, you've just exposed yourself as being a
Absolutely
misleading
not.
argument.
Absolutely not. I don't care if black people kill only blacks. I don't care if black people only kill Chinese. Black people shouldn't be killing. There is an issue within the black community which is leading them towards violence. We can discuss whether it's genetic. We can discuss whether it's cultural. We can discuss whether it's systemic. We can discuss that. But it is asinine and ignorant to pretend that there is not a culture within the black community which is leading to violence. There clearly is. There clearly is. And that needs to be addressed. I say this as a half black man myself. My father was black. Half of my family is black. But I'm not blind.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. We tried other.
And wherever you work out, you should take a look at the all-new spring-loaded weights to send shockwaves of energy, spring-loaded weights to send shockwaves of energy through your whole upper body. I've just said to you that I know that there is a big problem with young black men in London committing knife crime, and the vast majority of the victims of that knife crime are also black. That is just a statistical fact, right? So it just flies slightly in the face of your white genocide nonsense, which I call nonsense because there is no evidence of a white genocide.
Of course there is.
No, there isn't.
Of course there is.
No,
White
there isn't.
people are losing their countries in real time. White people are less percentage of the population of Earth than they've ever been.
Do you even know
White
what
people's
genocide
history is
means?
Being replaced.
Do you know
What
what
there's no
genocide
white
means?
genocide? They're literally disappearing from the planet, sir.
This may explain why you keep saying genocide about Israel from October the 8th onwards. You said it was a genocide. It may be you don't understand what a genocide actually is.
Of course I do. I
No, you
very
do-
clearly understand what a genocide is.
Well, if you think
When you're
it's to
trying
do with white
erase-
people in
erase
England,
an entire
you don't
race of
understand what
people
genocide
here,
is, do you?
That is a genocide. The level of psyop, which has been orchestrated upon the white person to give up all of their love of their history, to believe that all of their ancestors' work doesn't count, to believe that their God-given lands aren't theirs, to believe that they have no right to live in harmony or racial cohesion with anyone around them. The level of psyop that's been inflicted upon the white man is absolutely monumental, perhaps the largest psyop in history. Let me ask you, why did the British Empire give its lands back?
What do you mean?
Well, the British Empire, the British had the largest empire in history. Why did we give Uganda back or the Caribbean? Why did we give it back?
took a lot of because we took a lot of that land to start.
Because we took it, because it is their land given to them by God. This was the assumption that the British state came up with. We can't take someone else's land, it's theirs. It was given to them by God and they have an ancestral right to that land. So what right does that give the white person to the countries that they settled? What right does that give the white person to England? Because it's his ancestors and his land. He has a God-given
If you're
right.
so exercised about England, why don't you come and live here?
Well, I intend on being your prime minister soon, Piers.
Well, you're going to find that
Party is
quite
going to
hard if
rock,
you're living in
and I'll be the
Romania.
prime minister of the UK.
No, but you decided to live in another country. You left the country. You purport to be incredibly concerned about how we spend our taxes, but you yourself didn't pay the taxes that you owed, according to the authorities. That's why they took
According to
2
the
million.
corrupt
Okay, you
authorities,
denied.
yes.
You deny. I just assume you deny every wrongdoing you've ever been accused of, and you may well be the victim of the greatest miscarriage of justice ever seen in the history of mankind. Or maybe you're just a bullshitter and you are guilty. I don't know.
If I was guilty, why am I not in jail, Piers?
I don't know. We'll see, right? I believe in letting justice do its course, right? But we'll see, right? But on the relation to the...
Was Julian Assange guilty of rape?
Let me just come back to a point I
No,
want to
let
make.
me ask you, because
Let me
for 12
point
years
out-
he was a
I'm
rapist.
actually
He
doing
was
the
in
interview.
Belmarsh, and then all
Let
of
me
a sudden he
ask
got
you
let
about...
out, and no one talks
I
about
want
his
to make a
imaginary
point.
victim
I
anymore.
want to make a point.
Turns out they just made it up to get rid of the guy because he was a problem for the Matrix.
Let me just...
I thought he raped someone in
Let's
Sweden.
talk about
Who's
the
his
Matrix in a moment.
victim? Who's his victim?
Okay.
Oh, and she never existed.
Okay.
As soon as he deleted WikiLeaks and agreed to their little plea bargain, she was gone. Very
wanna-
much like my victims never existed.
I want to make the point to
made
you.
up.
I want to
It's
make
a
the
scam, and you should know better by now.
Okay, I want to make the point to you that when you talk about the issue of the Ukrainian woman killed in the train incident in the United States, that actually when you go off in your huge rant that this person was motivated by a left-wing agenda of hating white people and blah, 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 it reminds me of what you did in the UK after that young black boy killed those 3 white girls. Is that
I can be right twice.
Is that you
Piers.
made?
In fact,
Yeah,
I'm right all of the
but you were wrong there in the assumption.
wasn't wrong.
You were wrong in the assumptions you made that he was an illegal migrant come over on the small boats.
No,
right? You were
my
wrong.
assumption was that he shouldn't be there.
Fine, that's fine. He was born in.
You-
he was
you
born
must
in the
be a
UK.
guest
You might have a
in
view.
nations that you are not native to.
My point
You
is.
behave well as a
My
guest.
point is, you rushed to judgment and you were wrong. And you're rushing to judgment with this guy, and I don't know the truth, and nor do you. What I do think is it was a heinous murder, a disgusting incident, and that the mainstream media failed the American public in refusing to report it properly. And even now when they're reporting it, they're trying to do it through the prism of right-wing MAGA people trying to turn it into a race row, when in fact the guy is on tape saying, I got the white girl. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about his background and whether he did this for racially motivated reasons. And the tape is certainly a part of that investigation. But I think when you rush to judgment and you have your platform, it's incredibly dangerous, Andrew. I get so many young men in particular, teenage boys, early 20s, who come up and ask me about you and our interviews and what I actually think about you. You know that. You have a big influence and a big reach. But you
Perhaps
talk
the largest.
But yeah, all right. But they hear you make a big rant about protecting women's rights and so on, right? But only today, on your X account, to millions of people, you've said this: stop letting women vote. Stop giving women position as judges. Stop giving women political appointments. As soon as only men run government and law, all the problems disappear. Women now understand that without male protection, they're nothing but victims. You are not a girl boss. There is no such thing. Crying for Iriana is a wake-up call for females. And honestly, I don't think I've ever read a more ludicrously misogynistic, hypocritical load of claptrap
Well, let
in my
me
life.
answer you
How
then,
can you
Piers.
pretend to be standing up for women's
Let me
rights
answer
when
you,
actually
Piers.
what you want to do is subjugate women of all their rights? How do
No.
those two things sit without
You
you
are
being a brazen
conflating.
hypocrite?
You are conflating subjugation with protection. It turns out that it's the big, evil, mean misogynists who say that his woman shouldn't have to work in a pizza parlor, or that she can't defend herself on a bus, or that she shouldn't be walking outside alone. I should go with her. It's us big, evil, mean misogynists who actually care
You
about
don't even
because
want women to
why?
vote.
It is the
You don't
female
even want to
it's
give
the male
women the right to
feminists,
vote.
The liberals, the Democrats, the idiots who are going to sit there and pretend that a woman should be able to make her own money and take a public transport
Yeah,
alone
she should.
and sit next to a black guy and not worry about it. All of their worldviews led to her murder. I remember when I spoke to you on October 8th, and I said, why
absolute
women don't have
nonsense.
jobs. You
It's
said, why don't
nonsense.
your women have jobs?
What
My
you're
answer
saying-
is simple, because if they have
what
a
you're
job,
saying
they
is
might
absolute-
get stabbed to death.
Yeah, but Andrew-
because society is
Andrew-
broken down.
Andrew,
We
what-
built society
Andrew,
specifically
what you're
for the
saying-
reason that women used to have to walk around with a permanent male chaperone.
Yeah.
And society was built so that women could go outside and interact with the world
Yeah.
without a chaperone.
Yeah.
Society was built by evil, misogynistic men. And then
Yeah.
these feminists came along and destroyed it all. I believe in protecting women because I don't believe they can fight. If that makes me a misogynist, so be it.
No, the
Women
reason
like
you're-
men who
okay,
protect
let me
them.
respond.
No woman wants to be
No,
seen
no.
as a man's equal
Andrew,
in the realm of martial combat.
No,
sir.
no, the
And
reason-
me saying that is
the
women
reason-
who vote for these
the
DEI
reason I'm gonna
policies,
try and talk.
women who vote for liberalism,
I'm gonna try and talk.
women who vote for open
Let me
borders,
talk.
a female judge let
Yes,
him out,
okay.
and this is a wake-up call to all women to listen to the bad guys.
Oh, they've had the
because
wake-up
The
call.
bad guys want
Okay.
you alive,
Yes.
and the good guys,
Stop talking.
the wimps, want you stabbed in the neck
Okay,
and dead.
stop talking. So you, again, just to repeat, you said this today in your rant. Stop letting women vote. Stop giving them positions as judges. Stop giving
Correct.
them political appointments. As soon as
Correct.
only men run government
Correct.
and law, all the problems disappear.
Correct.
Women now understand that without
Correct.
male protection, they're nothing but victims. I can't
Correct.
think, do you even understand how misogynist that is?
Well, let me ask you a question. Who votes for liberalism? Who votes for soft on crime? Who votes for open borders? Who votes for DEI? By and large, male or female, which sex is it?
Wow, you're really doubling
Female.
down, aren't you?
What was the gender of the judge who let this man out his 14th time in court? Male or female?
Wow.
Female.
Wow.
Why was this woman going to work and riding the tram late alone at night instead of thinking this is dangerous or I need to find a man to take care of me? Why was she doing this? Because she probably believed that she can go and fend for herself and deal with herself out in the world. She doesn't need male protection. Bad things happen when we ignore reality. I'm not a misogynist and I'm not a racist. I am a realist, sir. I am a realist. White people are being subjugated.
So you're
and
blaming-
genocide.
you're blaming
That
this-
is clear.
So just to
And
be
women
clear,
need to
all right,
understand
stop
that it
shouting.
takes a bad guy
Okay.
to be a bad guy.
Okay.
And the big, evil, mean, toxically masculine misogynist. Let me tell you something. I'm the only guy on that tram who would have killed that guy before he got off of it.
Yeah.
I would have took the knife off him and stabbed him in his neck.
Sure.
Only me. No one else did.
Very
so it takes a
macho.
bad guy to beat a bad guy.
very
sir.
macho of you, but what you're basically inferring is that she brought this on herself.
No, what I'm inferring
You are.
is that society was built to protect women. And when you protect something, you must restrict something. We have taken that restriction, we've taken that protective instinct, conflated it into subjugation. You did it at the beginning of this questioning.
Yeah.
You tried to say
when
we
you
subjugate
remove a
women,
woman's
when
right
instead
to
we built an
vote,
entire
when you
society
remove a
around
woman's right to
protecting women.
work and
if
vote
that is ignored,
and all these
if that
other
is damaged
things,
and
you are
decimated,
reducing
then
women
females are
to
prey.
your chattel.
The society we live in now, women are permanent prey every single time they leave the house because of all of these liberal, femme-minded,
And why do you
garbage,
think-
girl feels,
Okay.
girl boss,
And why do you
Netflix,
think-
Piers Morgan,
and what-
bullshit.
okay, and
it
why
needs
do you
to
think-
end.
and
Women are
Andrew
gonna
Tate-
keep dying.
Andrew Tate, why do you think it is that people think you're a misogynist?
Nobody thinks that.
You don't understand why, do you? You can't even get it as you spew this stuff.
Oh, I understand that there's weaponized virtue. I understand that.
Oh, it's not
liberals-
weaponized virtue.
I understand, sir.
You don't
that the
believe in
same
women's
media-
rights.
I understand the
You
same
don't
media
believe in
that
women's rights.
refuse to report on this woman dying.
Yeah.
Say I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, but you're
I
trying to
understand
portray
that.
yourself.
I just don't care.
You're trying
because
to
they're
portray.
clearly
Okay, stop
corrupt.
shouting. You're trying to portray yourself as the savior of women, but
No,
you at the same
I know.
time.
No, I'm not.
You
No,
at the same
I'm not.
time you want to remove all their rights. You're a despicable
trying to say to you-
misogynist. That's all you are.
Protection. What I'm trying to say to you is that protection comes with a degree of restriction. That is the basic
They can't
premise of
vote.
Yeah.